Okay, to make a flower, first you take 6 pieces of yellow or orange paper, preferably because that is the color of the Flores de muerto. And the Flores de muerto is also called the cempasúchil, which would be really neat if you could tell the people at the station that it was called the cempasúchil. And it is the Nahuatl word for the marigold. And so what you're going to do is you're going to fold it like a fan and just go back and forth until you have what looks like a fan. And you want it maybe a 1/2 inch on each of the folds, so it's about like that. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to take the stem, just kind of wrap it around the middle. Doesn't matter. And then just kind of twist it around down here so it doesn't come undone. And this part, you have to be very careful. What you're going to do is you're going to take each individual piece of paper and you're going to fluff it out. So you kind of take it and pull it away from the bottom. That's your middle layer. And then you're going to go do the same thing with the other side. Okay. And you want to kind of take the edge and kind of pull it over a little bit so it goes a little bit around so you don't end up with a flower that looks like this. Okay, you want to pull it so that it kind of wraps around. And then you do the same thing with the next layer. And just kind of pull it gently over on the side there so you get a nice little round looking flower as opposed to like a butterfly. And if you wanted to, what you could do with these is you could layer every other piece of paper orange and yellow, so you could have like a flower that was kind of two-tone. And of course we have other colors of paper that you could use, but the traditional at the Day of the Dead altars and ofrendas, you're going to have yellow and orange, which are the colors of the Flor de Muerto. And sometimes you'll even see black ones because it kind of represents death, even though death is not seen as like a negative thing. Of course, things that are not alive generally are like flowers and things would be kind of black. So that can also be a way of representing death, even though usually the dead are represented in a very animated way as to represent them coming back to life on the Day of the Dead. And so here you have your marigold, and you're done. There are also a few other ways you can make your flowers a little bit unique. Once you've folded it in the fan and have your stem attached, you can cut a round edge, and it will look a little bit more like individual petals once you fan it out. So just a round edge like that. And same thing with the other side. Okay. And you'll see as you start fanning it out, you have to be very careful because they tend, the paper rips a little more easily than it does whenever you don't cut the individual petals. Wow, I didn't think that was a hard word to say, but individual petals. And you pull it apart just on both sides. Do one layer at a time, just like we did before we cut the edge. And I'll fast forward a little bit. Okay, so you can see the finished product. Looks a lot more realistic, actually, than the previous one. I would suggest that if you have someone who's interested in making a flower, but they're just not real crafty or have a lot of attention to detail, I would recommend this flower. It's going to look much prettier for them, and it's going to be a lot easier to do. This one is much harder to do because the petals rip very easily when you're separating them. So if you have someone who is patient, then this flower will work beautifully. Okay, the third and final flower I'm going to be showing you how to do is one that isn't too complicated. It's about the same as the other two. So you have the fan folded, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to cut a slight little angle to kind of snip off the edges like that. And then you're going to make 2 cuts down the middle, just about as far as where you cut the edge. Okay, so I cut the edge to about there, and then I snipped through twice right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and repeat with the other side. This makes a little bit more of a mess. I'll be glad when we're doing this in the cafeteria and not my living room. And then of course you're going to go ahead and fluff the flower out just like you did the other flower. I didn't snip down as far on the outside of the flower as I did with the curved one, so this is coming apart a little bit more easily for me, which is nice. And it is still a little bit more difficult than the original flower, but very doable. And as you see, whenever you fluff this out, you end up having this nice kind of shaggy looking flower. I'll go ahead and finish it and let you see the end. All right, and there's your final product. Looks a little bedheady. This is the one that had the curves cut, and this is the original. Curves, snip, snips. Happy flower making.